Krishna, Hare Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Krishna Prasthaya today, Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tanani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane. Nivase Shasunyavadi Prasachide Vitarane. Om Agyanatimanandasya Janantana Slaka Chaksusamanitam Dena Tachmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Caitanya Madhavistam Stapidam Dena Bhutale Swayam Prabhadamayam Tadati Sarpandana Toto Pudista Viprasandi Vacha Patitanam Pavane Vilvaisnavya. In the 10th chapter of Madhya Lila, Mahaprabhu has just arrived back from his tour of South India, and the first verse of the chapter describes how for the devotees of Jagannath Puri, it was just like rain falling on the crops of a parched earth. In other words, it brought his association, brought them back to life. They were constantly thinking about him during his 2 years of traveling and being away from Jagannath Puri. He had, his presence had touched them so deeply, even though Caitanya Caritamrta in the 6th chapter, which describes Mahaprabhu's, in Madhya Lila, his entrance into Jagannath Puri, he didn't intimately deal with many devotees. He dealt very much with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and he actually told Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya that to change you, it was because of you that I have come to Jagannath Puri, because he was the leader, he was the Rajki Pandit, he was the leader of he was the chief advisor. He and Kasi Misra were the chief advisors of the king, so they had such a prominent position. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a great, renowned, perhaps the greatest scholar in India at that time on Vedanta. He was especially a scholar and a teacher of Advaita Vedanta, and also the 6 philosophical schools at that time. So Mahaprabhu mostly interacted, as described in the 6th chapter, with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. But yet so many other devotees had become followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from Jagannath Puri. So many pious devotees of Lord Jagannath had become followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu during the time that Mahaprabhu was in Puri, and also the time when he was traveling in South India. So when he returned, they were just over the, I was going to say over the moon, but it's too much nice, I won't say it. It was it was like their life had returned to their bodies. In other words, their minds had been with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So just imagine, he had spent several months there only, and then he left for 2 years. And then after that, just such a short time with him, he influenced their consciousness so much and impressed his presence upon their consciousness so much that without his presence, they felt like they didn't have any life. So so amazing was the personality, the personage of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So amazing, so charismatic, so influential. Of course, because he was the Supreme Lord, is the Supreme Lord. So when Mahaprabhu arrived, the Orison devotees came and met him, and there was an exchange that we spoke about for the last several weeks, the different exchanges, and Mahaprabhu was very expert in heart stealing. And he was introduced to all the devotees. He was introduced to Bhavananda Roy, whose father was the father of Sri Ramananda Roy, who Mahaprabhu had met and had a very amazing spiritual conversation with, which is described in chapter 8. And now, those devotees from Jagannath Puri, Mahaprabhu was in his place at the house of Kasi Mishra, which is also, what else happens in the house of Kasi Mishra? What else is there?
Gambhira.
Yeah, the Gambhira is there. That's Mahaprabhu's private quarters. And you know what Gambhira means?
Deep.
It means deep. Because Mahaprabhu, and also it's cave, it was down under the ground too. But Mahaprabhu so deeply entered into his mood of separation from Krishna in this place. And this lonely place, and he would be accompanied by Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Roy down there, and they would support him. Do you know that your Guru Maharaj, you ever hear the story how he was in the Gambhira? You know, he went in the actual down part. There's the part that we see when we go to Radhakantamat. There's something below that. So somehow or another, some pundit brought him down there, and usually they'll just let you stay for a moment because it's such a intimate, holy place. But they sat there, and the pundit fell asleep.
Wow.
So His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj had quite a long time there because he took a very healthy nap. The pundit did, so he chanted some special blessing. So all the devotees had left, and there was Mahaprabhu with a few devotees, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was completely, because Mahaprabhu had showed him his six-odd form, the Sadbhuj form of Lord Ramachandra, himself as a sannyasi and as Krishna, and he had completely withdrawn him from thinking that the Shankaracharya's Advaita Vedanta was the actual meaning of Vedanta. He had changed him. Such a complete change of heart from a dry, impersonalistic philosopher, scholar, intellectual, who's only related to his books and the theories of Sri Shankaracharya. He changed completely into a very soft and devotee who had so much love for Krishna and Sri Chaitanya. So just a few devotees had remained with Mahaprabhu, and then gradually what we're going to hear in this chapter, that devotees from all over Gauda Desh, who most of them who knew Mahaprabhu, had some connection with Mahaprabhu, they're going to join him. And then there's something that's going to happen right now that we shall hear of is significant in many ways. So when everyone had left, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was there, and Mahaprabhu called for the servant who had accompanied him in his South India tour. His name was Kalakrishnadas. And Kalakrishnadas had been coerced, almost seduced by some gypsies, Bhattaharis in South India, and Mahaprabhu had rescued him. But then they were back in Jagannath Puri, and when everyone had left, Mahaprabhu called for Kalakrishnadas, and when Kalakrishnadas was sitting there, and you can imagine how Kalakrishnadas was feeling in the midst of all this. Mahaprabhu said to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, my dear Bhattacharya, this is text 63, just consider this Iha Charita, the character, the activities of this man who went with me to South India. He left my company to associate with the Bhattaharis, but I rescued him from their company and brought him here. So it described here previously during that episode how they would basically lure people into their company using loose women and intoxicate them and these people, and then they'd have them join their group in this way. In this way they would completed their preaching mission. So Mahaprabhu said to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, now that I have brought him here, I'm asking him to leave. He can go wherever he likes, for I'm no longer responsible for him. So while he was serving Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu felt responsible for him because there's relationship in that the person serves you and you take care of that person. But now he had brought him back to Jagannath Puri, and he said, now go. Go. You can go wherever you like. I'm no longer responsible for you. So from the point of view of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was teaching something very important. He was because the character of a great soul has two sides, a very strict side. I don't remember the Sanskrit verse that Prabhupada used to quote, but he can be as hard as a thunderbolt and as soft as a rose. Kusumadhi. The softness of a rose petal, but at the same time can be as hard as a thunderbolt. So here, and later on in the second chapter of Antya Lila, the example of Chota Haridas will be given, which exemplified Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's hardness also, and strictness, because he was the Acharya, so he was teaching. There's one pastime that I heard of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's, that there was one sannyasi who, without getting any permission or anything, he decided he wanted to go to the holy place known as Badrikashram. Have any of you been to Badrikashram? Of course, it's high in the Himalayas, and that's where Krishna had sent Uddhav when it was time for him to leave this world, because he had a message that he wanted to. Krishna had a message and a service for Uddhava. He wanted to tell the teachings, because he said, according to our acharyas, Krishna was thinking, I've been to so many places in this world, but when I was here, and I did so much, I influenced so many people and taught so many people, and I performed my mission, but I never got to Badrikashram, so I will send Uddhava there in my stead to give them the message from the Uddhava Gita and the other teachings that I have left behind. So this one sannyasi had gone to this holy place, very holy place of Badrikashram, but without permission. This was during the time of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And then when this sannyasi had arrived at the place he was supposed to be in South India, he got a message, a letter, saying from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, perhaps through the in charge of the mission at that time, but saying, I'm taking away your sannyas because you have done this. Now you're just a brahmachari again. So, and look what he had done. He had gone to the holy place of Badarikashram, but independently. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur took away his sannyas for that. So he was, that ex-sannyasi was so upset. And I've done this small thing wrong. I've given my life. I've been in the mission for 15 years or so, and I've done this small thing, and look what happened. I lost. I've been humiliated. And he had that anger within him, even in Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. How could he do this? So at some point later, he carried that with him, and he at some point later, he actually came into the presence of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And he spoke very straight to him. I've given my whole life, 15 years of my life, the best, strongest, healthiest, best years of my life in service, so happily, so willingly, because of to please you, and then for this one small thing, you took away my sannyas. How could you do this? And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur answered him by saying, do you think I get pleasure from having treated you like this? That's all he said, as far as I understand. And that brahmachari ex-sannyasi immediately understood that being in the position of an acharya is so difficult. There's always, you have to set this example, you have to chastise sometimes for someone just to teach. I remember that there's one, and you have to speak sometimes on this side of an issue, and then the young devotees who hear that become fanatical and on that side of the issue, but yet there's another side, and it's only maturity and wisdom that can balance all the different sides. So one time Prabhupada was on a walk, and there were people, maybe in Bombay, there were people practicing yoga, and the devotees watching it, and they of course naturally have been taught by Prabhupada how yoga can't practice yoga in this age, there's no benefit, and Prabhupada used to say, touching, what is it, putting your nose, how you make sure it's advanced from putting your thumb to your nose, and, I don't know, or whatever. And so the devotees started criticizing, look at them practicing yoga, wasting their time, or something like that. And then Prabhupada answered on the other side, no, it's good for your health. You're healthy like that. So, but now there's a problem, because Prabhupada said now practicing yoga is good for your health. So then the devotee said, oh, so we should practice yoga? So hey, and then Prabhupada's answer was not required. And he just kept walking, and the topic was closed. Because imagine if he said, yes, everyone should practice yoga for their health, all the devotees, and we would have devotees sort of like they are today. Everyone's practicing yoga. And because you can get so much into these things that you lose the purpose of it, and it's just to get, it's like fixing your car. You fix your car and you get so much into your car, you become, what is it called, a hung car. You identify with the car so much. So anyway, the point being that being the acharya, there's no easy superficial. It's not. You have to be so strong and fixed and know what your service is, and have the maturity and the wisdom, and yet, and sometimes there'll be casualties, but Krishna compensates. So soon, I don't know how soon, but after that, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave that brahmachari sannyas again, but gave him a new name this time. So here, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu as the Acharya, as he did with, in the past time with Chota Haridas. He is very strict and very hard. Now that I have brought him here, I am asking him to leave. He can go where he likes, for I'm no longer responsible for him. So I'll read Prabhupada's purport here and then continue with the pastime. Kalakrishnadas was influenced and allured by nomads or gypsies who enticed him with women. Maya is so strong that Kalakrishnadas left Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's company to join gypsy women. Even though a person may associate with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he can be allured by Maya and leave the Lord's company due to his slight independence. Independence means adopting a spirit to enjoy. That's the essence. It's either enjoyment in the material world, Krishna Bhule Se Jeev Anandi Bahimok, without back turned towards Krishna, or face Krishna, which means facing our relationship with him as servant. So only one who is overwhelmed by Maya can be so unfortunate as to leave Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's company. Yet, unless one is very conscientious, what does conscientious mean? Linda?
Very particular and diligent about what one does.
And very, something conscientious. Okay, Google it. What does it mean? How would you define conscientious? Like diligent and very responsible and very careful and responsible and aware and serious. There's so many words in that, serious, conscientious about what one is doing. So if one is conscientious about cleaning, one is cleaning the kitchen, one is very, very careful and does it in every minute detail, conscientious. So what does conscientious mean?
Careful and diligent.
And careful in details and serious. And do you know what indolent means? Lazy. So it's the opposite. Indolent and conscientious. So everyone in their mind, take a scale, a big stick over here in your mind, and then put one end conscientious and the other hand indolent, lazy. And then put something in the middle so it balances. And put your own weight of conscientiousness on one side and your own weight of indolence or lack of conscientiousness on the other side. And see what happens. Does it go this way or this way? Does it go like this? One day like this, one day like this. So we're not going to ask anyone to reveal what in the world happened inside when you did that. And that's called introspection, when you think, you self-examine yourself. And it's important to be introspective, to be aware. Otherwise, how could you adjust conscientiously if you see that some adjustment is required? You say if you're falling on the indolent side, this is getting too much weight, and you realize some adjustment has to be made. So unless you become conscious of your own situation. And what happens, on the other hand, if you become conscious of your own situation, but you don't have the strength or the capacity to do anything about it, or will, what you would call that nowadays, you're conscientiousness challenged. Because if you call someone indolent, you may hurt their feelings. So what do you do? At least we should become humble. So hearing, so one, see Caitanya, unless one is very conscientious, the influence of Maya can drag one away, even though he be the personal assistant of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and what to speak of others. The Bhattaharis used to increase their numbers by using women to allure outsiders. This is factual evidence showing that it is possible at any time to fall down from the Lord's association. So Prabhupada is giving one answer to the question that bewilders and divides the devotees more than any other philosophical question. How, if we're with Krishna in the spiritual world, how can we misuse our independence and come to the material world and choose that being with Krishna? So, and there's no Maya in the spiritual world. So it's a very tricky question. So here Prabhupada says that even that it's a product of one's free will, that here, giving the example of Kalakrishnadas, even in the association of the Lord, one can misuse or get lured away and misuse one's independence and leave the association of the Lord. One need only to misuse his little independence, and once fallen and separated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead's association, one becomes a candidate for suffering in the material world. Although rejected by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Kalakrishnadas was given another chance, as the following verses relate. So, that was Prabhupada's purport. So, Mahaprabhu said, I'm no longer responsible for him. And hearing the Lord reject him, Kalakrishnadas began to cry. However, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, not caring for him, Mahaprabhu became callous. He immediately left to take his noon lunch. After this, the other devotees, headed by Nityananda Prabhu, Jagannananda, Mukunda, and Damodar, began to consider a certain plan. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Even though a person is rejected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the devotees of the Lord do not reject him. Therefore, the Lord's devotees are more merciful than the Lord himself. Or another way to look at it is that the devotees are the Kripa Shakti, or the mercy of the Lord. That this is how the Lord can balance the different sides that are required. Someone has to be strict and someone has to be merciful, and if the same person is merciful and strict at the same time, it gets quite bewildering. So the Lord is strict and the devotees more merciful, even more merciful, it seems, than the Lord himself, but it's actually, there's no difference between the Lord's mercy and the devotee's mercy. Srila Narottama Das Thakur thus sings, Sadhya Vaishnava Seva Nishtara Payetsikeva. One cannot be relieved from the material clutches without engaging in the service of pure devotees. The Lord himself may sometimes be very hard, but the devotees are always kind. Thus Kalakrishnadas received the mercy of the four devotees mentioned above. Now, who remembers the names of the four devotees mentioned above without looking at your iPhone, iPad, or other electronic instrument? Who can remember any of them? Nityananda. These are the devotees, when everyone left, these are the devotees who had accompanied Mahaprabhu from Bengal to Jagannath Puri and had waited there in Jagannath Puri while the Lord had gone on his South India tour. Mukunda and Jagannananda Pandit. Okay, who can remember any of the four? Okay, raise your hand though. Yes, TV.
Um,
Very good. You were going to say Nityananda Prabhu, weren't you? Yeah. Anyone else?
Jagananda Pandit.
Jagananda Pandit. Any other Pandits?
And
I'll give you a hint. Namam Isharam Sachidananda Rupam. You get my hint? So Jagananda Pandit, huh?
wait, what? I'm getting confused.
Damodar Pandit. And last, the fourth one, anyone remember? But you forgot to raise your hand. Mukunda, yeah. So they began to consider a certain plan. The Lord himself may sometimes be very hard, but the devotees are always kind. That puts a lot of pressure on the devotees because they have to be kind even if they're in a bad mood. Thus Kalakrishnadas received the mercy of the 4 devotees mentioned above. The Lord's 4 devotees considered, and this is very important, especially for the next chapter, because the plan of Krishna is very wonderful and it's executed through his devotees. The Lord's 4 devotees considered, we want a person to go to Bengal just to inform Caritamrta about Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's arrival at Jagannath Puri. Now, why did they want to do that?
See, her order was that he stay there so she knows about how he's doing.
Yes, but a little more. It's because it's the nature of mothers to worry about their sons. And Mahaprabhu had gone to South India. She had lost one son, Vishwarupa, who had gone, and she never heard of him again. So perhaps she was worried that I'm never going to hear of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again. He's gone to South India, who knows? And we know what happened to Vishwarupa. What happened?
Took sannyas and never came back and passed away.
Passed away in Pandharpur. So mother said she was, because that's how mothers, one way mothers show their love, and fathers too, by their anxiety for their children. So after hearing, just to inform Caritamrta about Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's arrival at Jagannath Puri, and after hearing news of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's arrival, devotees like Advaita and Srivas will certainly come to see him immediately, and that's what will happen in the 10th and 11th chapter. The next chapter, the devotees from Bengal will arrive, and it's very exciting. So let us therefore send Krishnadas to Bengal. Saying this, they kept Krishnadas engaged in the service of the Lord and gave him assurance. They encouraged him to continue to engage in the Lord's service. So the next day, all the devotees asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, please give permission for a person to go to Bengal. Now what do you hear in that? Go on. What interesting thing is there?
Same like what he's done, that someone met without his permission, so it's like similar.
But they didn't know what, they couldn't say.
Yeah, they didn't
They
mention
couldn't
the
say
name.
his name, right? Because then he would have to say, no, just go. Because he has to be strict. So the devotees are very intelligent in their dealings too, because they know Mahaprabhu's desire is never to cut off mercy from a person, and they have to be the instrument, but yet he has to be hard. So there's also one pastime story how there was, Tamal Krishnaraj tells a story that when the Bombay temple was just being built. They found that during the rainy season, when it was hard for people to survive, just people who didn't really have any way of surviving, the brahmachari ashram would tend to fill up with people. And then when the rainy season was over, because I don't know if you've ever been in Bombay during the rainy season. You have been. It's quite rainy, isn't it? Is it uncomfortable too? No, because you're from Bombay.
It's very hot. It's,
Huh?
for some reason, it's very hot and very humid.
It's humid and hot,
Yeah.
and you had AC. Yes?
No, not
No.
at that time.
Mataji, you like Bombay? In the rainy season? No, it's not too bad. Yes, so, so one brahmachari, he wouldn't do any service when he was living in the brahmachari ashram. And he wouldn't do any service until Mahakrishna, His Holiness Mahakrishna was in charge. So he kept asking him to do service, and he wouldn't do any service. He'd just go to Juhu Beach during the day and come back in for prasadam and then go. He wouldn't do anything in service. So Prabhupada, Tamal Krishna would complain to Prabhupada about him. He's not doing anything, and Prabhupada said, "No, let him stay. Let him stay." And then they found out that he'd go to the beach at Juhu and he would smoke cigarettes. And the way Tamal Krishna describes it, that he was practicing some kind of yoga. And in that yoga, he would take a coin and put it in his ear and pull it out the other ear or something like that. Now, I'm not really sure if that was just, just a little bit of jadoo. I doubt that he was actually good at that. But in any case, he told all this to Prabhupada, and that he was smoking cigarettes and he wouldn't come back and this and that. And Prabhupada said, and he was influencing badly other devotees who were there, so Prabhupada finally said, "My mercy has run out for him, tell him to go." So Tamal Krishna told him to go, and he left. But then, later, Tamal Krishna asked Srila Prabhupada, "Is it true that your mercy has actually run out for this person?" And Prabhupada said, "No." That's the nature of an exalted soul. His heart is ultimately soft and compassionate, and wants to try to fan any spark that exists. So the devotees did that, and they encouraged Krishnadas to engage in the Lord's service. And the next day, all the devotees asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, "Please give permission for Ekajan, that's some person, that's one person to go to Mother Sachi." Mother Sachi and all the devotees headed by Advaitacharya are all very unhappy due to not receiving news about your return from your South Indian tour. And one person, Ekajana, should go to Bengal and inform them about the auspicious news of your return to Jagannath Puri. So upon hearing this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, "Do whatever you decide." So he didn't say, "Who is this one person?" Because they wouldn't lie to him, but he knew his part. Mahaprabhu also knows what to do what you want. In this way, Kalakrishnadas was sent to Bengal, and he was given sufficient quantities of Lord Jagannath's food remnants to distribute there. So there he was, in such a difficult position, rejected. But then, when he goes to Bengal, by the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu and the other devotees, he goes with good news and Jagannath Mahaprasadam. So everyone is going to be so happy to see him, naturally. Thus, Kalakrishnadas went to Bengal and he first went to Navadvip to see Mother Sachi. Upon reaching Mother Sachi, Kalakrishnadas first offered his obeisances and delivered the food remnants, the Mahaprasad. He then informed her of the good news that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had returned from the South Indian tour. This good news gave much pleasure to Mother Sachi, as well as to all the devotees of Navadvip headed by Srivas Thakur. And hearing of Lord Chaitanya's return to Puri, everyone became very glad. Krishnadas next went to the house of Advaitacharya. After paying him respectful obeisances, what is the next thing that Krishnadas did? Yes, he gave him the Mahaprasad. And he then informed him of the news of Lord Chaitanya in complete detail. In other words, because remember, he had gone with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over South India, so you can imagine what happened, and then what did he do, and then what happened there, and what happened there, and what happened there. When Advaitacharya Goswami heard of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's return, he became very pleased. In his great ecstasy of love, he made a rumbling sound and danced and chanted for a long time. Pangara. He's calling out aloud. After hearing this auspicious news, Haridas Thakur became very pleased. So did Vasudev Datta, Murari Gupta, and Shivananda Sen. Acharya Ratna, Vikeshwar Pandit, Acharya Nidhi, and Gadadhar Pandit were all very pleased to hear this news. Sriram Pandit, Damodar Pandit, Sriman Pandit, Vijay, and Sridhar were also pleased to hear it. Raghava Pandit, the son of Advaitacharya, not Raghava Pandit, who is the son of Advaitacharya, but Raghava Pandit, the son of Advaitacharya, who is the son of Advaitacharya? No, Achyutananda. And do you know who Achyutananda ended up taking initiation from? Gadadhar Pandit in Puri. Sriman Pandit, Vijay, and Sridhar were also very pleased to hear it. Raghava Pandit, the son of Advaitacharya, no comma, and all the devotees became very satisfied. How many can I describe? All the devotees were thrilled that Mahaprabhu had returned safely. But not only were they happy and satisfied that Mahaprabhu had returned safely, this gave them the opportunity to see him again. So everyone was very pleased, and they all gathered together at the house of Advaitacharya. And all the devotees offered respectful obeisances at the lotus feet of Advaitacharya, and in return Advaitacharya embraced them all. Advaitacharya then held a festival that lasted 2 or 3 days. Thereafter, they all made a firm decision to go to Jagannath Puri. Then, after a little bit of time, all the devotees met together at Navadvip, and with Mother Sachi's permission, they departed for Niladri, Jagannath Puri. The inhabitants of Kulinagram, Satyaraj, Ramananda, and the other devotees there came and joined Advaitacharya. Mukunda, Narahari, Raghunandana, and all the others came from Srikanda to Advaitacharya's home to accompany him to Jagannath Puri. At that time, Parmananda Puri came from South India, because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after he went to Sri Rangam, when he was traveling in South India, he met Parmananda Puri, who was a dear disciple of Madhavendra Puri, a godbrother of Sri Ishwar Puri, Mahaprabhu's own spiritual master. He met him, I think it was at the Rishabha Hills, after Mahaprabhu had left Sri Rangam, and they had some exchanges there, and Mahaprabhu had asked him to come to Jagannath Puri and stay with him. They they immediately recognized each other. Now Parmananda Puri understood that although he was in the worshipable position of being sannyasi godbrother of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's own spiritual master, when Mahaprabhu said, "Come to Jagannath Puri and live with me," he immediately agreed. So he understood Mahaprabhu's position, even though he was in a superior position, according to etiquette, that he understood Mahaprabhu's actual position as the Supreme Lord. So Parmananda Puri, on the way from South India to Jagannath Puri, he came from South India at this time, and traveling along the banks of the Ganga, he ultimately reached the town of Nadia. At Navadvip, Parmananda Puri took his board and lodging at the house of Sachimata. She provided him with everything very respectfully. While residing in the house of Sachimata, Parmananda Puri heard the news of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's return to Jagannath Puri. He therefore decided to go there as soon as possible. And there was a devotee of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's named Dvija Kamalakanta, whom Parmananda Puri took with him to Jagannath Puri. So he didn't, because of all the devotees from all over Bengal, from Srikanda, and also from Kulia, went to the house of, they were all going to meet at the house of Advaitacharya, and then they were all going to go together to Jagannath Puri, but Parmananda, being an independent wandering sannyasi, he decided to get there even more quickly. So he just left with his servant, whose name was
Kamalaka?
Dvija Kamalakanta. Yes, Kamalakanta. Then Parmananda Puri very soon arrived at Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's place, and the Lord was happy to see him. So I think we'll start that, because now one by one the devotees from all over Bengal are going to come to see Mahaprabhu. So Parmananda Puri is the first one. And then in the next chapter, the group of devotees from Bengal with Advaitacharya, led by Sivananda Singh, they arrive. And it's very, very touching to watch how they come, the enthusiasm with which they come, and how Mahaprabhu reacts when he sees them, etc. And then later, also interesting, not interesting, but very touching, is in the 15th chapter, which I was just reading yesterday. That's the time that they leave and go back to Bengal. And so meeting and departure are very important and should be dealt with very carefully and sweetly. So here in the coming, we'll hear in the next chapter of the devotees from Bengal and then their departure. We'll hear Krishna winning at some point in the 15th chapter. Okay, any questions or comments? Yes.
It looks like Kalakrishnadas had a very important service because he was the only one for those 2 years in South India. So all those stories must have come through him.
And he must, and Raghunath Das, must hear from Kalakrishnadas, and Raghunath Das tells them to Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami. Yeah, there's one other book called Govinda Karcha, but it's not clear if it's a real authentic, bona fide, not 100% clear anyway. Yes, very important service. Any other questions or comments? Yes.
It's fascinating that the devotees tried to conceal the name of Kalakrishnadas.
from Mahaprabhu in suggesting that a devotee should go to Bengal.
Go to?
To Bengal,
Yes.
to take news from Sachi. But they're dealing with the all-known Supreme Lord who already knows what they're, in one sense, knows what they're planning and thinking.
In one sense. It's like this, when Kunti Devi, in her prayers in the Bhagavatam, she's amazed that Krishna is crying when Mother Yasoda is chastising him, or surprised that he who fear personified or death is afraid of Mother Yasoda's chastisement. So in his comment on that, Srila Sridhar Swami says that she's surprised because the Supreme Lord is acting like an ordinary person, ordinary child. And Srila Jiva Goswami very, very respectfully and carefully says, no, even though some say that, but actually she's more surprised that Krishna is actually afraid of her. So when we're dealing with the Supreme Lord's consciousness, who's Sarvagya, who knows everything, yet he can know everything, and yet he's so involved in a particular mood of his Leela that he simultaneously doesn't know everything. So how is that possible? We can think of some examples, but basically it's not possible for us to understand the consciousness of God, Parameshwara, Param Brahman. So he knows what he's involved in being the Acharya, Mahaprabhu is, and the devotees know what they have to do. And they just, to show the merciful, to be merciful to Kalakrishnadas, Eka Jana. So just one person, just one person. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, fascinating is a better word. Any other questions or comments?
So there's some interesting parallels between Mahaprabhu was in Puri for a short time, then went away for a long time. When Prabhupada went to New York, he started ISKCON, and then I think within 1 year he had his health crisis, and he went back to India for quite a few months. And the devotees were kind of left, a bit of a vacuum while he was gone. This one reminded me of that.
And they had just been devotees for days or months. So it wasn't very deep, but and there was no philosophy, basically a little bit, but not very much philosophy, but there was Prabhupada and their attachment to him. And that's what the movement was based on, basically. And the chanting of the holy names. At that time, the morning program was, you get up, you had to be up by, and bathed by 7. It's a good morning program, yeah? And then from 7 to 8, first there was the chanting of the prayers to the spiritual master and a little kirtan for 20 minutes. From 7 to 7:20 approximately. Then please chant one round, Prabhupada would say, and everyone chanted one round till, say, 7:30, and then there was a Bhagavatam class from 7:30 to 8, and then people went about their work or their daily business. That was the morning program at that time. Yeah. Any other other comments or questions or interesting thoughts to share? There must be at least one Icelandic question.
No, I just, I think the next chapter is when the devotees arrive at Puri, and then, is it Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya also who takes the king to the top of his palace? And he's describing the scene. So it has an interesting, because you kind of, you're seeing like the whole, all the associates, he has to describe, this is Advaitacharya, and this is Kirtan, and it's kind of these, for me, this is one of the favorite parts of the Chaitanya Caritamrta, because it's something that, you get this overview, and he has to describe all the devotees, who they are, who is this one and that one, and you get, it's so picturesque, you feel like you're standing on the roofs yourself, and you're seeing the devotees coming in, and yeah, that's my, one of my favorites.
Yeah, nice. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya himself doesn't know the devotees.
No, that was, yeah, it was someone.
Gopinath,
Gopinath,
his brother and younger brother-in-law.
Yeah.
He asked him, and this is the first basic introduction to Maharaj Prataparudra.
Yeah.
He wants to see the Lord, but Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya says he won't see you because he's a sannyasi and it's dangerous for him to deal with the king because naturally the king has so much power and opulence, and the sannyasi is conscientious and doesn't want his mind to be filled with material desires or even material desires to enter his mind. Very dangerous. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, when they find out that the devotees from Bengal have come, and also Caitanya Mahaprabhu, because this is after the Snanayatra, where Lord Jagannath isn't seen. So he goes to Alalanath. Have you ever been to Alalanath? Quite amazing place. So he's there, Mahaprabhu is there, and then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, of course, is feeling separation from him, so he's so happy to tell Mahaprabhu that the devotees from Bengal are coming. So Mahaprabhu comes back, and he's in his Gambhira, and then, as you say, there's this incredible scene. Mahaprabhu sends forward first Nityananda Prabhu, and then Swarup Damodar to meet them, and this first greeting, and then they meet them in stages. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya doesn't know the devotees to point them out. Maharaj Prataparudra sees that they're so effulgent. So effulgent, who are they? He's never seen people like this, and so much joy. And why are they not following the usual principles when coming to a holy place? First they should see Lord Jagannath, then do this, then that, and then going right to see Mahaprabhu. So he's a bit astounded by their spontaneous nature, and this is the first introduction that you get practically to what is Ragmog, spontaneous devotional service. And because of love for Mahaprabhu, they're just proceeding, the heart is leading. And then there's that incident with Ramananda Roy also. It's very similar in one sense, where the same point is made. Yeah, that's such a wonderful scene. It's very, you can visualize it. That's what the point is. Are you visualizing it right now? Very good.
It's just ecstatic.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Prabhu, what are you thinking about all this?
I'm just wondering about the mood of the devotees. So I'm just thinking about the mood.
Yeah.
So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has written basically from Jagannath, what will be the mood and how they are in the ecstasy, they're receiving that. So I'm just thinking about the mood.
Yeah, wonderful. Good thinking. Krishna Lilo, what do you think?
Sounds like a lot of separation and meeting, but it's always the separation that gets me, I think.
Gets you, what does it get you? Does it get you into a happy mood or a sad mood or somewhere in between? Or do you like the meeting, or you like the separation, or you
No, I
like
don't
the
the
departure?
separation, no.
Yeah.
It's too much of that.
Well, no one likes separation, because if you like the separation, there wouldn't be any separation.
Pretending it's not.
Making believe it doesn't exist. Good luck. Yeah, but it's important because even right now we're on some level separated from Krishna. So unless we feel the separation from Krishna, I want to be with him, and how will I go on without being with him? And how will we get closer to him? That desire should increase separation is the teachings of Mahaprabhu.
It also reflects on our separation from devotees.
You feel separation from devotees?
I mean, the Lord and the devotees are non-different.
Yeah.
In
No,
some
I'm
sense.
not saying that in any way, a critical way, but do you feel separation from devotees? From the association of devotees? So that's so fortunate. I mean, it's not fun, but it's fortunate. You know, one day that you'll be in that situation that you desire. Just the way it works. But Mohan, what do you think of it all?
It could have been like a really exciting moment, because there's this very, very long time when they didn't really know what Mahaprabhu was doing or where exactly he was while he was in South India. So it's like, you know, they had so much love for him, but they couldn't see him for such a long time. And now it's finally over.
It's getting closer.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're still in Bengal.
Like for some devotees who are in Puri.
Yeah. Yeah, so exciting.
Also, when they come back, they do this first kirtan in the temple. That was also very nice. In the Jagannath temple.
Yeah.
That's like
We'll get there.
yeah.
We don't want to just go there because there's so much more fun in this chapter. Jimmy, what do you think?
I think, like other devotees, I'm also looking forward to the anticipation of devotees meeting, devotees from Bengal meeting Caitanya Mahaprabhu.
Maybe we should just skip the rest of the chapter. But except that we won't hear about Srup Damodar meeting with Mahaprabhu.
I was thinking that the like joy of separation is directly like proportionate to the length of separation. I don't know if it makes any sense or not, but
No. Because Mahaprabhu says that in the mode of the gopis, that one moment seems like 1,000 years or more. Yuga yitam nameshena. So time is stressful. Makes sense.
also the punishment or the like chastisement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The chastisement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu seems to be more external rather than internal, because when the devotees were seeking permission to send one devotee, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu seated in their hearts as Tila Paramatma, he would already know what the intention of the devotees were, whom to send. So if he was really angry at like Kalakrishnadas, then he would have probably said no, or he would have said something else, that who are you sending, and I don't want to send this person. So it seems like the chastisement was more external rather than internal.
That's one way to look at it. Because after all, everyone is a soul, eternal soul. But it could be real at the same time, but Mahaprabhu could be just it being in that mood, because to be a person means to have moods. Even the Supreme Personality of Godhead has moods. Prabhupada had moods, different moods. Go ahead, say it.
So I was just thinking that if the Supreme Lord rejects someone, then we still have hope that his devotees will accept or they will accept that person. But if
That's-
the devotee rejects someone, then that's the end of it.
No, except that Prabhupada said in the purport that the devotees, what did he say exactly? The Lord himself may sometimes be very hard, but the devotees are always very kind. So therefore, to emphasize that point, I told that story of His Holiness Tamal Krishnadas and the gentleman living in the Brahmachari ashram who was putting a coin in one ear and pulling it out the other ear. And Prabhupada said, no, I never. My mercy hasn't run out. There's other stories about that, very similar too. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Shri Caitanya Caritamrta ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Krishna Kavirata Swami Maharaj ki jai, Shri Caitanya Caritamrta ki jai, Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Shri Prabhupada Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Shri Gaur Premanandi.